Let's do a really quick stock plugin comparison between some of the plugins that you would find available in Pro Tools and Studio One. So I've got a small list kind of just in my head here, but I'm very much going to be going off the cuff. In terms of EQs, okay, let's open up our console. We'll close our instrument rack. In terms of EQs, if you are using, for example, the EQ7 a lot, check out the Pro EQ. You've seen me use it over and over in this series, but this is just a great EQ. We have two filters. We have some different bands. We have some adjustments between peaking and shelf on our lower frequencies, and we can set different shelves, and we can adjust our Q, everything you would kind of expect. And then we have some different modes in terms of our ranges, curves, what we want to see as our visual display, and things like that. If you're talking about basic compressors, let's take a look at the compressor options that we have. So we have the compressor. Now the compressor is just a very transparent, almost invisible, transparent, neutral sounding compressor. We have everything you would expect. You have your ratio, you have your threshold, you have your knee, we have a look ahead, we have our attack, release, we can go auto or adaptive for these. Sidechain filter, we have the ability to external sidechain where we're listening to something, or we can compress just a specific frequency range. So technically you could build a de-esser. Input gain, makeup gain, and then we also have a mix knob directly on the actual GUI itself. So that is an option for compression, and I will use that for sidechaining sources sometimes, just a good utility plugin compressor, or if I need something to be invisible. Now, another option I would really urge you to check out is Fat Channel, especially if you are a PreSonus Sphere member. We have two different views. We can kind of see this as a view where we would toggle between the different processors that we have loaded within here, or we have this other view where you see it like this and you can adjust things all together. Now, if you are a Sphere subscriber or you've purchased this and you've purchased some of these add-ons, then we have other plugins that come available. So for example, we have the Tube compressor and the FET. You get this for free. But there's a lot of other options as well. So we have the standard one, that comes for free as well. And then we have, for example, the Brick Comp. And then we have the Classic Comp. So you can see the kind of SSL 33609. We have a Comp 160. We have the Everest C100A. We have the 670. We have an RC500 compressor, which is actually modeled after the compression circuit of the RC500, which is something that I have. And then we have the Tube, which is like a CL1B. And then we have the VT1 comp, which is actually modeled after the ADL700. So these ones all can be loaded directly from within here. We can enable or bypass these. In terms of equalizers, right, we have our standard. This is going to come free with the Fat Channel. And then we have passive. This comes free with the basic package. And then we have a vintage. So you can see which models these are pretty much emulating. Then we go into some of the other options, right? We have an API style EQ. We have a Baxandall style EQ. We have the RC500 again. We have Solar 69. So we have like a Helios. We have another TubeTech model. And then last but not least, we have a VT1, which is actually the EQ section from the ADL700. And then we have a vintage 3-band. So these can be some great options in terms of if you like working with some of the analog emulations that ship with Pro Tools, especially in the subscription bundles. Take a look at some of these options. Some of my favorites for this one, I really like the Baxandall EQ, and also in terms of the compression, the SSL models, so the Brick Comp. And also, I really dig this Everest C100. This is great on vocals. I really like this on vocals. So do give these a listen to. Now, let's take a look at something else. If you like using, for example, something like lo-fi, take a look at Light Distortion. It's not exactly the same, but it does have a lot of cool different models in terms of soft tube, hard tube, bad tube, transistor, fuzz, op amp. Right, we can adjust our frequencies, we can adjust the distortion amount, the drive amount, we can adjust the mix stage if it's 1, 2, or 3 stages, our output. It's a really great plugin and it comes free. And if you need a little bit of grit or you need to kind of clip something off because the transients are too harsh, this is definitely worth checking out. Now, in terms of reverbs, I really like the room reverb that ships with Studio One. This is great for just like a general ambience thing. A lot of the time, whatever preset that it ships with, I just basically use it as an effects return and bump it up to 100%. Take a look at this. It's pretty decent. There's also another one. I think it's called MixVerb. I'll be honest with you. Where is it here? MixVerb. I don't use this. Not that it sounds bad. I just don't use it because I have other stuff that I turn to before going to this. Then we have a convolution-based reverb. So let's say you have your own impulse responses and you like working with these. We have the ability to basically just load anything that we want in terms of drag and drop or click here to load, navigate to somewhere where you have impulse responses on your system, load up your favorite impulse responses, and you have a convolution or an impulse response-based reverb that's built in here. Also has some presets, and then in addition to that, there are also some add-ons that are available to purchase. These are the Convology, and these ones are pretty decent in terms of some really nice basic sounds that are based upon impulse responses that you can load. So in terms of covering ourselves for like compression, EQ, a little bit of saturation with red light distortion, they also have a pretty nice Bitcrusher that I use. Bitcrusher right over here. This one, you can get some great results in terms of if you understand how to use a basic Bitcrusher plugin. That's something that you can load. Their delays, their analog delay, I find to be really nice. So if we look at this one over here, this is just a great sounding delay. It's got some really nice drive, and you can dial in something pretty decent with this. It's got regular modes in terms of mono, stereo width, or ping pong modes that you can load. The limiters that we have available. So if I was to go over here and I was to type in limiter, let's go with their limiter plugin. Again, just a really nice stock limiter. We have some different methods in which we can basically monitor things. We have a true peak mode. We also have a soft clip mode that we can engage. And we have some basic adjustments for ceiling, threshold, 2 different modes. We can push gain into it, fast, normal, slow attack, and then we can adjust our release here. Again, just a great sounding set of stock plugins to get you going. Another one that's really nice is their chorus. So if you need something, for example, this one over here, they've got a great sounding chorus. And the cool thing with some of these plugins is they're available as an add-on. So if you do start using Studio One and you say, you know what, I really like their delay, or I really like their chorus, or I really like the fat channel, for example, then you can actually load these in other DAWs because they're AU, VST, and AAX compatible. Now, outside of this, I'm trying to think if there's anything really, okay. Let's say that you're using, for example, 11 rack. Studio One, they've just redone their amplifier sections. And again, if you're subscribing to Sphere, you're going to get a lot of these add-on packages. So they have some really great sounding amps and cabinets that are available. And they also have some really decent stomp boxes that you can use if you're dialing in your tones all within the box. So in terms of stock plugins, they have a lot of coverage. And keep in mind, if ever you want to see these, you just go to your browse to your effects tab. You want to sort by vendor. And then if you scroll to the actual personas folder over here, you can see Ampire, analog delay, auto filter, all of these options over here. I've covered the ones which I tend to use all the time and the ones that I want to, really kind of put a focus on. This is something cool if you want to use like pedalboard style effects from Ampire as maybe like a distortion chain for a vocal or something like that. Then we also have just the pedalboard section. Again, there's more add-ons. There's also different presets that we have available, but we can choose between these different add-ons. They have some legacy ones, but also some brand new ones that they've done recently that sound pretty decent in terms of, basically dialing something in. Maybe you want to have, for example, I use this on a delay a lot. I will add, where is it here? The Tube Dreamer. So I might push the drive, adjust the tone, just to get some saturation on the delay, make it fit the mix in terms of what I'm working with. But a lot of really, really usable plugins. Now, Pipeline, I will link to a video that I've done. I've done quite a few. I will link to a video that shows Pipeline. The Pipeline workflow, I will say, in Studio One is absolutely brilliant because basically what you can do is you can just drag in a preset directly from the browser. I could drag this in and it will basically be seen as a plugin, right? You can just drag and drop this, and I've loaded this. It has information. I can load pictures. I can see the pictures if I want just by clicking over here. If I have very specific settings and I want to take a picture and drag and drop that in. It has auto ping, so you're always getting a sample accurate delay compensation. It has a send, has a return. You can invert the phase. You can adjust your mix blend directly from within here. And then you have different views in terms of how you can see your actual audio being processed. You have a difference mode in terms of the saturation that's being added. And you can now monitor your levels here. It's just an absolutely brilliant plugin. So that brings me to the end. I will probably be adding to this series as I see fit, but this is pretty much a wrap on this series. We've got a lot of content. Like I said, it's all going to be available in one master playlist. I really hope that you enjoyed this. I hope you get something from this. And any questions or comments, leave them in the comments below. And I'll do my absolute best to get back to you. Anyways, that's it for this video, but I hope that this has helped the transition in moving from Pro Tools into Studio One. And we will catch you in the next one. Cheers.